This is an Annapolis bonus podcast.
Good evening. The store will be closing in approximately 5 minutes. Please bring your final selections to the checkout immediately. Thank you.
Right by the service desk, we happen to have a blue and white special going on right now. We have some cleanup and produce.
Ah, yes, the familiar sounds of the big box shopping experience. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, endless aisles of sameness, and that feeling of just being another faceless shopper in the sea of carts. It's convenient for sure, but is this really the shopping experience we want to define our lives and our communities? Imagine a world where the Walmarts, the Targets, and the Amazons take over completely. A world where charming main streets are replaced with sprawling parking lots and herb and produce becomes the closest thing to a human connection you can find. You know, it could happen. Just look around at the number of stores that are closing right here in our community. But here's some good news. We still have a choice, and that choice is local. Shopping locally isn't just about finding unique gifts or enjoying a cup of coffee brewed by someone who remembers your name. It's about something much bigger. Every time we choose to buy from a small business, we're casting a vote for creativity, for craftsmanship, and for character. We're supporting neighbors who take pride in what they do, who pour their hearts into their businesses, and who make our towns and our cities feel, well, like home. Did you know that for every dollar spent at a local business, more than 2/3 of that dollar stays in the local economy? That means better schools, safer streets, and more vibrant communities. When we shop local, we're not just buying goods or services. We're investing in our future and our community, one transaction at a time. And let's be real, local businesses are the heart and soul of any community. Where else can you find that quirky bookstore owner who always knows what you'll love? The baker who makes those cupcakes that you dream about? The server that knows that you take 2 lemons in your iced tea? Or that hardware store clerk that saves your weekend DIY project with a smile? These people and their businesses give our communities their unique personality. They're not just selling products, they're creating connections. Today, we're diving into why shopping local matters, not just during the holidays, but all year round. We're going to chat with 2 amazing local businesses with deep roots in the community, and we're going to hear from a representative from the Downtown Annapolis Partnership and someone who works tirelessly to support these hometown heroes. Along the way, we're hopefully going to convince you how choosing local can make a real difference, not just in your life, but in the lives of everyone around you. So as you listen, I hope you'll think about where you spend your money and the power it has to shape our community. Together, we can keep our communities alive, vibrant, and uniquely ours. Because let's face it, shopping local isn't just about what you're buying, it's about what you're building.
Well, you've got to love a local business that's convenient to my home, because I was just able to pop literally across the street, and we're here with Dave Marburger from Bay Ridge Wine and Spirits, one of my favorite stores around the holiday season, I must say. And when I don't get down to Galway Bay, I'll come here to pick up my Galway Bay eggnog, which is just wonderful this time of year. But I know we talked probably about a year and a half ago on the podcast, but we wanted to talk about shopping locally because it's so important in our community when you see local people supporting local businesses. And I wanted to get out and talk to local businesses and find out what it kind of really means. And, you know, what makes Bay Ridge Wine and Spirits unique to the community, and I guess unique compared to larger chains. And I don't know if you have big, huge online competitors like like an Amazon's not selling booze that I'm aware of anyhow.
Yeah. So wow, there's so many questions inside of that one question. We are part of the community. You know, we live here. We send our kids to school here. We support the communities. We watch children, customers who have young children. We watch them grow up. And I've actually met youngsters at the age of 4 or 5, and then many years later supplied the beverages for their weddings after they've grown up. And we have the opportunity to watch and to see that. And we work closely with other businesses, whether it's local caterers, our plumbers, our electricians, our refrigeration repair people, alarm companies. They're all local people. And it really becomes a small community not just from the customer perspective, but when you think about local businesses supporting other local businesses, it's a great position for us to be in. But I mean, what a wonderful town Annapolis is, and you see the fabric, and when you know the history of the town, and every business in Annapolis used to be small, locally owned, privately owned business, and unfortunately, a lot of them are going away. But there are still others that come in and they start up, and it's just great to see, because you're talking about energetic people that actually care about what they do and who they do it with and how they do it.
Well, you just mentioned something that just dawned on me as far as, and I don't want to wish any bad luck on Bay Ridge Wine and Spirits, but I mean, if your coolers go down, you are calling a local refrigerator repair person to take care of them.
I'm not plugging anybody here, but Annapolis Refrigeration is who we call. And I think they're a 2-person operation, 3-person if you consider the wife who does a lot of the accounting and the answering of the phones. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely local people. It's how we operate.
And that's so important. I mean, most people just generally think of okay, as a consumer, I would like to support local businesses. But you've also got to look at the backside of that local businesses is supporting other local businesses. We've talked about community a number of times, but what does Bay Ridge Wine and Spirits do beyond selling, beer, wine, and liquor? I mean, to the community. I mean, I know you guys are a huge supporter of any number of different things. And currently right now, as we speak, but I'm not sure when it's going to release, but there is an auction to benefit the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, so we make thousands upon thousands of dollars of contributions to a wide variety of organizations.
I have interpreted the John Fernet Thirsty Fund.
Well, we'll see if we can do something about that. But yeah, we have an online auction going on right now, and all of the proceeds, including the costs of all the bottles that are in the auction, all of that money goes directly to the Boys and Girls Club of Annapolis and Anne Arundel County. We've participated in the Schools or Cash for Schools program that another small locally owned business spearheads. And I think that total number donated to the schools over the years is over $100,000. Maryland Hall for the Creative Arts. Oh, wow. Now I'm going blank now that you put me on the spot. But I mean, there's Annapolis Green. I mean, there's just so many different organizations, so many products that we've either just outright donated to people, sold product at a reduced cost, or cash contributions.
I'm not sure you get that out of a big box store.
I think that if you're extremely persistent and you have a long run time, you may be able to, but
well, I mean,
you could walk in here and get directly to me.
True. I mean, if I walk into I'll pick on Walmart right now and say, hey, I've got a little league team and I'm looking for a sponsorship. I'm going to get a toll-free number to Bentonville, Arkansas, and at some point may or may not get back to me.
Correct.
Whether it's during the season or not. But again, you make a great point that I can come back here, knock on your office door and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. And then you make your decision whether
the decision maker is here.
Right.
Let's take a step back. That's not just here at this store. That's at any small business. Your decision makers are there. And when you have a vested interest in making sure that your business continuously moves forward, you're going to do whatever is necessary to please that customer. And I'm not just talking about making a decision of making a contribution or a donation. I mean, if there's a problem, you work on it till the end. And you always want to do what's best for the customer.
I wanted to talk specifically to you, and I read in the paper the other day that Governor Moore has come out and said that he would like to see beer and wine, I don't think he said liquor, into community grocery stores. And I was like, I'm not sure I've heard of a more horrible idea when I thought about that. And I'm like, my last experience here at Bay Ridge Wine and Spirits, okay, I came in and I had tried the RAR light beer. And I knew it was RAR, and I was pretty sure it was a white can with mostly black. Looked around, didn't see anything. Went and asked somebody, and I said, hey, do you guys have the RAR light light beer. And the woman jumped out from behind the little kiosk in the middle of the store and I say ran, but I mean, boom, 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 here it is. And I ended up buying a case. And yes, it had a little bit of gold on the label, but I was kind of right with the black and white. But it was a very good light beer, again, brewed semi-locally over there in Cambridge. But, I don't ever see that happening in any kind of a grocery store when we go into a Giant or a Target or a Walmart or a Safeway, to be able to get the kind of experience that you would get here at Bay Ridge Wine and Spirits.
Yeah, his comments kind of took everybody by surprise. Obviously, our industry and also the legislators. I don't think there was any conversation about it. But I obviously think it's a horrible idea, and you're spot on. I have trained so many staff members on so many specific areas, whether it's, a sommelier with wine, whether it's calculating the requirements you would need for a large party, whether it's a beer specialist, whether it's a spirit specialist. You would never find that in a grocery store setting. And it wasn't just community groceries, it was just grocery. Exactly. You would get aisle 7, and if you're able to find somebody in that aisle, I'd be shocked. You might find them when the shelf needs to be stocked, but yes, you're not going to find the level of expertise and service that you're going to get at an estate, not just here, but I think in most retail beverage stores.
Oh, I would say in any retail store, period. I mean, let's get out of that beverage realm as well. I mean, it's, yes, I know I have Stolshchina vodka. It's, here it is. That's about the level that it goes to.
Correct.
As opposed to saying, hey, I've got a really special event and this is what I want to do. Or, maybe I've got my in-laws and I really don't like them. So do you have something that tastes really horrible that will send them away?
Yes, we operate in very different methods, and the grocery method, it's just ingrained in that industry, and it's very simple. It's stock the shelves, get out of the way. There's a lot of that, and I'd like to think that we here at Bay Ridge don't operate that way. It's everybody that walks through the front door, hi, what can I help you find? And if I don't have the answer, I know I have somebody on staff who can answer it.
Well, you never have operated that way. And I mean, I've been in Annapolis since '96, and it's been the go-to liquor store. And I'm not this huge liquor guy. I mean, I'm not here every other day picking up something, but I mean, I've been here enough that I know when I walk in, I don't have to look very far to solve my problem.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'd like to think that we are exactly what you just described. But I also know that there are several other retailers, most other retailers in this industry do the same thing. And if beer and wine goes in grocery, you're talking about a lot of businesses closing. The same thing happened in Colorado. I think it was in 2022. And by the end of 2025, might be the end of 2026, they're expecting an additional 400 private independent businesses to close. So, and I read an article that there was a gentleman that was quoted saying Colorado is a horrible state for small business, but a great state for corporations. And I don't want to see that on the message board coming into Maryland every time you come in or going over the Bay Bridge.
I agree. I mean, I just think that, a little bit short-sighted on the governor's part. And I did some Googling before we came over, and there's like 1,234 independent, locally owned liquor stores. Does that sound right to you in Maryland?
Ballpark, yes.
And, somewhere around there. But I can't imagine, and I mean, I don't want to necessarily mention a competitor of yours for sure, but I mean, you've got Scott Liquors, which is across the street, okay? It's a little tiny sliver of a store like that. What would Giant selling beer and wine do to that store?
You'd put them out of business.
Absolute, flat out.
Put them out of business.
And another thing that I was talking to somebody about this yesterday who had mentioned that I never really considered, but there are a lot of people that do struggle with alcohol addiction. You hopefully never see them. And the grocery stores tend to be a safe place for them to go. They can get their food, they can get their nourishment, they can get their drinks, they can, get everything that they need at a grocery store. Yet now that you've got this whole aisle of temptation, that could potentially be a problem for some probably for many people, I would think.
Yeah, if you struggle with addiction, you can avoid a bar, you can avoid the liquor store, but you can't really avoid the grocery store. Everybody needs to eat. Not everybody has to walk through, my doors here. You choose to do that, but you have to eat, you have to buy groceries. So I would think that it would be from the public health perspective, keeping beer and wine out of grocery stores would be, or even convenience stores. I mean, there's not been a bill put in this year, so I can't talk specifically about anything that may or may not happen this year. However, when the governor speaks, people do listen. So I'm sure there will be one in, but historically we've seen other bills come in, and some of them only have requirements of being 3,500 square feet, which encompasses and sell fresh food, which encompasses Wawa's, Royal Farms, not just grocery stores. So if you take a look at those numbers, to use the number you quoted, let's just say 1,200, you go from 1,200 points of access to 36, possibly 5,000 total points of access when you incorporate all of those businesses.
And that 1,200 now is shrunk down to 300. And I mean, the Giants and the Wawas and the Targets and the Walmarts, they're doing fine right now.
Yeah.
And we all survive in the same little ecosystem there. And I think another problem issue when you looking at specifically in the grocery stores, you guys are harsh on, okay, how old are you? I mean, I'm getting to the point where I don't get carded here because, I'm starting to look like I'm older than 21. But, you guys, I mean, that's your reputation, that's your license, that's everything on the line. And I don't know that you get that level of thoroughness, I guess, in a grocery store. I mean, I can check out.
Yeah, the self-checkout, I think, is a challenge. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if any retailer is caught selling out alcoholic beverages to underage individuals, if they're doing it intentionally, they should be called to the carpet. However, they're called to the carpet either way. The owners have to be there. Right. The licensees have to be there. Are they going to call the owners of the Giant Corporation or the owners of Whole Foods or the owner of Royal Farms and Wawa to, a local liquor board hearing? And do they close in worst case scenarios, yes, your business can be closed. So do they close, the Wawa for a period of time while they're serving the fine that whatever the liquor board may hand down to them? The answer to that is no, they wouldn't do that. So that means that they get to operate by a different set of rules than we would have to operate by.
There's a lot to digest there.
There is. We could talk about this for days.
Yeah, we could. You'd probably have a full blown podcast on this one. But as we start to wrap it up, Dave, I want to just sort of a question is, I'm such a proponent of shopping locally, and I think that all businesses all communities begin with a business on a main street, whether it's Main Street or West Street or Bay Ridge Avenue or Hillsmere. It doesn't really matter, but it's local small businesses that are in the community, that are a part of the community. That kids are growing up with your kids and the whole 9 yards. That's what really makes it. But what to you, if I said, why shop local? What does Dave Marburger say to that? Why should I shop local?
Because we are local. We live here. We're part of the community. Our kids are in the same, Little League communities. I think it was 65 to 75 cents of every dollar that's spent here goes back into our community versus the big box where it's, I think, somewhere under 20 cents for every dollar spent there goes back to the community. And that's a staggering number. I mean, I go back to local supports local. Forward Brewing Company in Eastport. We sell their beer. We sell as much beer of theirs as we can get our hands on. But somebody like that could very well end up going out of business if chain stores get beer and wine, because they're not going to support that. The chain stores are going to carry the 20% of the products that do 80% of the volume in the industry.
Sure, the Budweiser, the Millers, I get that.
I think that's a very long elevator ride if you wanted my elevator pitch.
Yeah.
We are local people. We are part of this community, and we want to take care of this community, not just return profits to our shareholders.
Well, I think you've been a very good steward for how many years now?
24, 23?
23, 24?
I stopped counting, John.
you've been a very good steward of the community, of the store. And certainly I appreciate that Bay Ridge Wine and Spirits is here. I love that you're involved with the community, that you're giving back to the community, when you can, and as generously and as much as you can. I wish you all the success. I hope that everybody remembers this when they in the market for some, spirits, wine, or beer. Great place to come. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities, and if it ever comes down to buying it out of the grocery store, don't do it.
Well, we appreciate you bringing light to subjects like this, and all that you do for the Annapolis community. You're a bastion for news, information, and hope.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And I guess I'm just going to say have a wonderful Christmas or Hanukkah and a New Year and Kwanzaa and everything else that's all wrapped up into it. But have a wonderful holiday. And I guess we'll see you in the new year.
Right back at you.
Clean up and produce!
All right. Well, continuing our little trek, went down the road a little bit. We are in a local coffee shop. And we're sitting here with Judy Budensek, who is the secretary, I believe, of the Downtown Annapolis Partnership, but equally, if not more important, she is the proprietor of FM, which is Francis Marketing, a little small boutique marketing company in Eastport. Is that right? Boutique? Do we consider a boutique?
I think so.
Okay, very good. Well, I'd say, the Downtown Annapolis Partnership it's sort of a hybrid business association. The job in the most basic sense is to promote local businesses in the downtown area. And that's where the focus of a lot of retail is in this region, this downtown, as opposed, and in the malls and stuff like that. But as a board member and as a marketing firm that does work pretty much exclusively with small businesses that are local, do you have a read or a temperature on the status of small business in the area?
It's an interesting time to ask that because I'm sitting here still shaking from last night. It was freezing, to say the least. I wasn't there. My alter ego, #Elfie, she was there.
And I think I suppose we're talking about Midnight Madness, round 2.
Absolutely. It was packed. And that's what we hope for. A lot of business it's always been that kind of that first 10 and a half months of the year is often problematic for people. But that point from mid-November when people are really getting in gear for the holiday season through now, I thought our Christmas tree lighting was absolutely absurdly packed. It was so wonderful to see that.
And they've got a great Christmas tree this year. I got to say, the shape and everything, spot on.
Beauty. Last night was absolutely amazing. I didn't really get to leave mid-Main Street because there were so many people. There were a lot of people carrying a lot of bags last night.
I did not make last night, but I made the first one, and I made Small Business Saturday, and I was just absolutely excited to see. My wish for a new year would be that type of traffic and everything else could be year round. And obviously, that's sort of a little bit of a pipe dream. I understand that. I mean, I've talked to several restaurateurs that also say that the Downtown Annapolis Partnership also does the Restaurant Week.
Correct.
That sometimes the Restaurant Week is the difference between red and black when it comes down to the end of the year. So what you guys are doing is pretty important. But as you look at local small businesses, how do you see them? How do they contribute to the local economy in ways that some of the larger, the Targets and the Walmarts and the Sam's Clubs and Costco's and stuff like that can't?
And this isn't a dig on large business.
We can dig on them. That's fine.
Right. Look, the person that owns that store probably lives around the corner from you. Whether your kid goes to school with your kid, or you know them from church or a community organization, those small business owners are our neighbors. So it's, like I said, it's not a dig on whether or not you go into a mall or something, but go in someplace where you're actually talking to the owner, and your sale makes all the difference in what happens on their kitchen table. When they're having a rough week or they're having a great week, that's affecting them personally. That's their family. That's their livelihood. And that's their passion because they're getting home and doing that. They could go get corporate jobs elsewhere in the world, but they choose to be small business owners. Look at here, the pop-up shop.
Right.
I mean, that's your heart and soul. And look at that last night. I mean, that was just phenomenal to even watch and to just know how, there it is, the pop-up shop. look at all that she puts into it. That's not even open 365 days a year. To see our restaurants full, to see all the sort, it's all spilling over. So the shopping that you're doing locally right now adds to everything that's going on. So I think it also has such a great vibe. You walk in, you're talking to the owner, so then another neighbor walks in. So you're just running into people that you know from all different parts of your life.
Well, it really does. And I also find that a lot of small, and I should say all small businesses, I know, but it's probably not. They're the ones that are stepping up saying, hey, can I help to sponsor that little 18? Okay, I'm looking at your jacket right here. You've got the Annapolis Police Foundation. I know that you guys do scholarships to deserving youth and everything else. There are businesses that say, yes, I want to contribute that. And you know why they do it? Because they know what the Annapolis Police Foundation does, and they know that they're working with the kids that need this help. And that's what community is all about.
And it's funny because it's just, as someone who has contributed to both organizations. You mentioned the foundation on my jacket. Snowflake Alley was the brainchild of Sean O'Neill. To this day, he contributes money to make sure Snowflake Alley exists.
Right.
But
Sean O'Neill, he's with RBC Wealth
Management. And he was the chair of when we were the Annapolis Business Association, which DAP was the ABA. So that was his baby, and it's still there today. And how many people, I love seeing hashtag Snowflake Alley on things. And so you look at his continued support.
Well, let me flip that. Then how can the community, okay, because if we've got robust local businesses, they're going to be supporting the community, but how can the community come in and support local businesses? Okay, I mean, I know that the obvious way is to go shop locally and look for, you go into Mango on Main, which isn't on Main anymore, I think. Mango on Maryland now, but
it still works with the M's.
You go into the Annapolis Juice Shop, which used to be Race's Juice Shop. You know those locally owned small businesses and restaurants and everything else. Are there other ways that the community can support that? My thought is that, like, when your kid is playing soccer or Little League, look at the fences. See whose signs are on the fences.
Exactly. What's there and why are they there? Maybe they're kids on the field, or they know somebody on the field, or they just live near the field and it's something that they want to do and to give that love. When you were saying that, I pictured Annabeth's in my head, though, because if you remember, when I moved here about 25 years ago, 26 years ago, and Annabeth's opened, it was a video rental store.
And on the other side of the street.
Right. Now,
the other end of the street and the other side of the street.
The community could have walked away when they didn't have to, we need to rent videos anymore. But the community supported while she evolved her business into something completely different. And now they're still thriving. They just celebrated that anniversary. And that, I think that is almost defines what we're talking about, like supporting small business. It could have been when all of these big stores, all these big video rental stores opened up, that could have been the end of her. But she was smart enough to say, how do I reinvent myself? And the community said, yeah, that's cool.
That was a great idea, because she's one of my favorite stores in town.
It's such a great store to go in, because you can walk in there knowing, I need to get a gift for somebody and I don't know what. And there is everything. You'll find it. So I think that it falls in line with that same thing of just supporting your neighbor and looking at a business, not so much thinking that, well, I'm just going to go in there and write a check. That's my neighbor. I know them. I know them from somewhere else. And if you don't know them, go in and meet them.
Oh, and one thing I will say, and that I've mentioned this several times in talking to different businesses, that we are a very giving community. And, hopefully we never go through another COVID situation. But I remember when COVID hit, and I mean, people were just buying gift cards at restaurants that were shut down with the knowledge that
maybe a day.
There's a very good possibility that they just threw that $50 or $100 away because that restaurant may not be here. Absolutely. And that really sort of speaks volumes to the community and the investment into it. As we look at the proliferance, I mean, the whole thing that sort of, jump-started this particular episode was that I'm just seeing so many businesses in this area and other areas just closed recently. And that's really sad, because some of them were just absolutely, all of them were great businesses. It makes me sad when you sit there and you see, and I know as a small business owner myself, and you can attest to this, when you are a small business owner, you put your heart and your soul into it, okay? It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's for me, it's like a 5:30 to 7 a.m. job, and then it's like a 9 to 3 job, and then it's maybe like a 6 to 8 job. And then
maybe somewhere around 10:30, you go, oh, shoot, let me go do that.
if I can't sleep, it may be a 10:30 to 2 a.m. job. And for some psychotic reason, we love it. People need to know how important it is for the people that own businesses to be able to do it. Okay. I get a kick out of what I can give back to the community and a service that, that I can offer to some people in the community, as does every store, as does the coffee shop, as does the senior home, as does the local realtor, as to that's what it's all about. That's what makes the community roll and move around, is when we support one another. So absolutely. When you're looking at the larger stores, I encourage people to think if there is a local option to do, because the statistic shows that 73, I think is the latest one, 73 cents every dollar that's spent on a local business comes back into it. Okay. The owner of, we just talked with Dave Marburger at Bay Ridge Wine and Spirits. So when he gets his, dollar profit, okay, he's taking, date myself here, he's going across the street to Rocco's Pizza and buying a slice of pizza. Yet, okay, the general manager of Target down here, he's writing that profit check and he's sending it up to Minneapolis. And that gets distributed to shareholders and everything else like that. And they get spent over in Minneapolis. So Minneapolis owes Maryland a thank you note. But think about where you're buying. Think about what effects it has. Local businesses, they're not necessarily the cheapest, but a lot of times they're on par. I don't know whether you're a PC or a Mac kind of a person, but
I'm a Mac girl all the way.
I love Apple products. I think they're very good. They're very solid. But anytime I need to purchase them or repair them, especially, I will go up to Severna Park to Mac Meadows.
I do too.
Dana is a locally owned business, and his people have been in this business forever, and they know what they're talking about. But think about it. There's Dana, who's working day in and day out. I mean, he takes trade-ins. He sells, refurbished stuff. He's always able to salvage data, because we all suck about.
I am a Mac person like you. And so my iPads, my MacBook, everything comes from up there. And also in local business, then Alpha Engineering is my go-to for every time I screw something up.
If you could put on your FM marketing, Francis marketing hat for a minute, and you do have your Francis marketing hat on right now. I'll point that out. So what can you tell businesses that are saying, hey, it's a tough year. We're struggling. What's a tough year? I mean,
I'm going to tell them something that they don't want to hear, because small businesses are notorious for when they're struggling, they cut their marketing budget. You're having a rough time, so we're going to stop marketing. We're going to stop asking people to come in. You cannot do that. You have got to cut someplace else, but you've got to make sure you're inviting people in. Tell them you're out there. Run a sale or whatever you got to do, but do not stop talking to your customer, because they're going to forget you when you stop talking.
Sure.
So it's one of those where people always go, yeah, I'm going to cut back on my marketing. It's not good. And I'm like,
oh, I absolutely agree. I mean, if you're not talking to people, they assume you're dead.
absolutely.
Let them know, hey, I'm alive. And that was especially true during COVID. So turn around and say, hey, I am alive. I am here.
We're here.
And
we're here.
And, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't retool your marketing. There are probably different options that could work equally.
Right. We can maybe change what you're doing. Find some things. There's ways to use social media that's not going to cost you what it might cost you to buy a billboard on.
Well, I mean, you're a perfect example. Okay, you had 4 commercials supposed to be running in the Super Bowl this year, Judy.
That's right. Oh yes.
Francis marketing. Okay, but it was a tough year. Okay, so you're down to 1.
I got to make it the best darn commercial there is, so everyone remembered it.
No, I mean, there are ways to tool around your marketing and figure out how to do it. Maybe again, there's a little bit data, but maybe instead of running full-page newspaper ads like you used to do on every Sunday paper, you turn around and you take half of that budget and you put it into Facebook promotions or Facebook advertising.
Absolutely.
There are plenty of ways to do it. You're preaching to the choir there as far as that, but don't ever pull back on that. And I guess as we start to wrap up real quickly, before we go on to our next stop with Marlene Neifeld at KMB True Value, if I were to come up and hit you up right now and just say, Judy, why shop local?
Why not?
Clean up in produce!
On our third stop on the road trip, we are here with Marlene Neifeld, who is the new leader new old leader, new old continuing leader of K&B True Value Hardware in Annapolis. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks, John.
Now, I know you're fairly new recently. I mean, you grew up in the hardware industry and now.
Yeah, so my parents started, started out as the hardware house 50 years ago. This is our 50th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I worked in the hardware store as a kid and a teen. And then I went off and had my own career. And Jared Littman, my husband, ran the hardware store beautifully for 20 years. And now he's become interested in politics. And so I have, in the last year or so, taken over the running of the store to free up some time for him to run.
The podcast that we're talking about today is really more about supporting local business. But I think if anybody hasn't been to K&B True Value, do go there because you're going to find a really wide variety of stuff there. It is not a, quote, hardware store anymore.
Well, we try really hard to source many different items. We go to the Atlanta gift show every year, and so we try to bring in some not just hardware-related items, but items that you might just be interested as an Annapolitan. One of our buyers found blow-up paddle boards, and we thought, wait,
we have water.
We have water. We have boats. You can store it in your boat and, blow it up and go paddleboarding. And they've actually sold pretty well. So we just really try to find fun stuff.
I mean, you are not a big company. You are probably a definition of a small business. I mean, you are a husband and wife team that runs this. What sets you apart from the larger chains or, even online stores? What's your difference?
We're rooted in the community. We employ 30 people in the community. So when you shop with us, you're supporting your neighbors and, the teenagers who are getting their first jobs, a whole variety of people. We donated to over 50 organizations this year to be part of the community. We try very hard not to say no when people come in the door. We do have a budget, and I always tell people, come in the beginning of the year when we're, full of hope and promise, and by the end of the year, our budget is a little bit
strained.
Yeah,
sure,
strained.
Sure, I get that.
But we, support everything from the Eastport Fire Department to the local PAL teams to, chorus groups and everything else.
That's what it is. It's all about community, and the community hopefully support you. Obviously, they have. You're here 50 years later. In turn, it's transactional. We need your support as well. And as you said, we see your names at Powell Park. One of the things that I've been very proud to have been involved with the last couple of years is the Cash for Schools program, which is, I think, close to $200,000 through the program, through the life of the program, is donated to local schools, which are taxed on their own issues and they can't do it. And this is just a little something extra. In New Orleans, they call it like a lagniappe, which is something extra that they can do for the kids. And we have some schools that are very challenged in our community.
Yeah, this was Jared's brainchild about 10 years ago, and he really saw a need. So this helps with all of that. So, we're very excited, and so many other business owners like yourself and Chop Tank Annapolis and Evolve and Lito's Pizza and Pasta have all been such big supporters. It's wonderful.
Right. Well,
and Bay Ridge Wine and Spirits.
Sure. They were in there for a long, long time. You've talked about the community support that you've given. You've taught us how to fix toilets, and with your seminars that you have there. And let's be real. It's a marketing tool to get people in there to see what you have. Which,
it's also to tell people we have the experts. We want to put on a workshop to say, hey, look, our guys know this stuff. So. We want to teach you how to fix your toilet flapper without hiring a $300 plumber or whatever. But we also want to show you that we train our staff to be knowledgeable and give you the help you need.
And, I will say that the staff is very knowledgeable. I think this is one thing that really sort of sets you apart. I have a 4-poster bed.
Yeah.
And one of the posters came off. And there was some kind of crazy little triangular claw thing that went in the bottom and the top, and there was like kind of a screwy thing in the middle that held it together to do it there. And that was the technical terms I came in there with. I got this triangular clawy thing here that's trying to go into this other triangular with a screwy thing in the middle. After they rolled their eyes at me, they took me back to the widget aisle, and
Yeah.
they were able to figure out what the problem is. And
Yeah.
I think that's, again, where you find the community in the ability to say, hey, this is my problem. Can you help me solve this? And you do have the expertise to do it.
Yeah. In this post-COVID era, we're also just trying to get people together. I mean, people are so isolated nowadays that it's just nice to have a room full of people who can laugh and talk, and it's a place to gather. I think loneliness and isolation is a huge problem. And, a lot of local businesses provide that space to go to and actually have a conversation, not just with, an employee, but with your neighbors and, other customers. I see that all the time. It's a lot of fun.
As you get involved in the community, I mean, what's it to you to get involved in the community? I mean, you've talked about what you've done. Why do you do it? I mean, you could just sit there and ring the register and take the money and have a good day.
That's just not who Jared and I are. We just, and I think most local businesses care about having a vibrant, healthy community. And you see a ton of people from, all of our favorite places to go in Annapolis are involved in some way. So it's just a passion of ours to give back. It's just something the two of us have always thought was important, and it makes us feel good. So I can't say it's completely benevolent because we get as much as we give,
Sure. But I mean, you do need to make a living. You do need to put food on your table and the table of your employees as well. And it's all about the community working together. I mean, I've always said for a long, long time that a community actually gets its start on a main street. I don't want to pick on Main Street in Annapolis, but a main street. It could be Hillsmere Drive. It could be, Forest Drive. It could be Bay Ridge Avenue. It somewhere, West Street. That's where it is. And it's the small local businesses because.
Oh, definitely. If you think of the flavor of a community, if the only place you had to eat chain that, is burgers, and you're going to get bored. You're going to get bored going into Home Depot and the same places that you're going to see the same things. They'll have 16 feet of the same off-white light switch. You can walk from, miles and miles and not see anything interesting or new. So that's how we try to keep it interesting. When you were talking about this, I was trying to think of, my favorite places in Annapolis to go. And, just talking to Tony, who owns Eastport Kitchen. He was in the store the other day, and I was raving about he makes this chocolate cake for dessert, and he makes it himself. And it is to die for. And I'm sure it's all, healthy ingredients, the same thing. We're just trying to provide the community with, healthy, good quality things. Drooling over it now, just thinking about it.
And unfortunately, I'd seen recently a lot of local small businesses have been closing their doors. And I know some have said they've had really tough years and everything else in the last few years. And that's understandable coming out of COVID and everything else.
Well, there's a lot of invisible factors that consumers don't see that make running a business so hard right now. One of them is credit card fees. People are buying 50-cent screws, and I'm not making a ton of.
And then and you're paying 2 cents on the.
Yeah, so really, if people could just think of like anything under $20, try to pay cash for, you're going to help out every single local business that
That's a great tip, Marlene.
Very simple way to help out. Your bigger purchases, of course, you're going to have your credit card. Yeah. And that's just a very simple thing to do for people. I cashier sometimes, and I'll watch people pull out a wad of money and then stick their credit card in the reader for $2. And I'm like, want to say like, oh, can I up the cash?
Well, as we start to wrap up, I mean, I guess the central theme is community, and it goes both ways. I mean, the community does need to support KMB, and you've got, KMB has to support their community, and then it's been working really well for 50 years. So that's a good thing. But if I were just to walk into your store and say, hey, Marlene, so why should I shop local? What would you say?
good quality, best service, and really the best value. I mean, I think we're unfairly tagged. People think, oh, they must be more expensive. Our prices are mostly lower, actually. We make sure we're a penny lower on Cargill salt or all of our salt products than Home Depot. And we deliver it to your door or often bring it into your home. So you get extra value. And I think that's the key, is the added value we bring to every transaction.
Well, I think that's the value that any locally small business brings. They're not necessarily, I mean, they may not necessarily be the cheapest or the least expensive. And if they're not, there's something extra that you're getting there. It may be that your kid now has lime for his baseball field because of a small business's generosity in supporting the Little League teams.
We also stand behind our products. I mean, you can bring us back stuff, and if it didn't work or broke or something, we take it back and give you something new or give you your money back.
Thank you for being a part of the community. Thank you for what you give to the community, and, to the community, keep supporting these local businesses. K&B Ace Hardware does, I don't say needs the help, but I mean, all of the businesses need the help. They want to have, and tell your neighbors about it. They've got all sorts of crazy cool stuff in there. That's where our community begins, because it's all going right back around to us. And it's so important to support these local businesses because, again, 50 years later, K&B is here supporting us.
And it's our pleasure.
Well, you heard it from three horses' mouths. Small businesses are the heartbeat of our community, bringing creativity, connection, and a personal touch you just can't find in a big box store. From the three, I feel one thing is clear. When you shop local, you're not just buying a product, you're building a stronger, more vibrant community. So the next time you're out shopping, think local first. Your choice makes all the difference.
This has been a bonus podcast from Eye on Annapolis. Please visit us at eyeonannapolis.net. Follow us on Facebook at All Annapolis and on Twitter at Eye on Annapolis. And if you haven't subscribed to the Daily News Brief podcast, go for it. And all of your local news will be delivered to your phone, tablet, or smart device by 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday.